We are back. It is a week 5, I guess, in the NFL. Recapping week 4, though. Colts and Rams yesterday. First Colts loss of the season. A ton to get to on today's podcast. Kevin Bowe and Mark Dykton with us again. Mark, thank you for filling in. We greatly appreciate it.
Thanks for the ask.
Of course. 27-20, the final yesterday. And, I did think the game largely lived up to a lot of the hype. I thought that looked like two playoff teams going back and forth at each other. Some definite good, some definite bad, some definite stupidity that we will get to on today's podcast. But I guess overall, there's a little bit of house money feel, I thought, to yesterday. I mean, when you win your first 3 games all in the AFC, you can live with a 3-1 first quarter. I think the stinging and the frustrating aspect of yesterday is, damn, it easily could have been a win, and a lot of it was self-inflicted. That's kind of how I sit here and look at it. Again, without 2 of your better players, 3 starters total, you more than hung in there. You probably played better than the Rams at times. But I think what hurts is 11 penalties. A.D. Mitchell, Lou Anarumo. We'll get into all of it, Mark, but that's what I think stings to it. You can look big picture and say, hey, 3-1, and that speaks for a lot of it right now. But, just shrinks a little bit of the margin for error. And obviously your own self-infliction, a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I think if you would have looked ahead of the season and said, okay, of these first 4 games, which one would be, we feel, the most comfortable to drop? It would have been this one. But it's the way that you lost this one that makes it a little bitter taste in your mouth on this Monday morning, because you basically, you had it. You could have easily had that game. That could have been a win. It wasn't Daniel Jones' best performance. Clearly, it wasn't a couple other people's best performances, which we'll dive into in this podcast. But after all that was said and done, all the penalties, all that stuff, you still could have come out of LA with a victory. And I think that's what's most disappointing, is that it was there and they just went down their leg in the end and they come out with a loss now.
And again, that you can look at it definitely glass half full, but it doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't really lessen just that immediate sting of that loss. And how great of a road win over a Hall of Fame quarterback. And, we'll see what the career holds for Sean McVay, all of that. So, okay, Mark, we haven't done this all year, but we'll start with what I didn't like. What do we got first on the did not like category?
I'll give you one guess of what you didn't like. I think it's what everybody is talking about this Monday morning, and it's 2 letters. AD.
AD. Mark, I remember the Monday after Jonathan Taylor dropped the ball in Denver last year. We did our show. I did this podcast, and I said something to the effect of, what's so stunning to me that it was Taylor doing that is that's a play I would expect A.D. Mitchell to do.
You had your crystal ball out back then.
And lo and behold, 8 games later, someone said, hold your beer, Kevin Bowen, because you're going to get it on the first potential touchdown of the career of A.D. Mitchell. So it's not stunning to me that it was him. Obviously, it's stunning in the nature of, I cannot believe we're talking about this play. Again, you got the full A.D. Mitchell experiment in those 12 seconds. If you haven't watched the Colts at all, if you have heard about this A.D. Mitchell character, but you know nothing more than that, you got it all right there. It's a 3rd and 4. If you watch the play unfold, Daniel Jones is literally taking a 50-50 shot down the field, 30 yards down the field to a covered A.D. Mitchell. That's what they think of A.D. Mitchell. They think he's that talented. Patrick Surtain's guarding him week 2. Oh, A.D. Mitchell's on the field. We're taking a deep ball shot to him. So it's the talent of him taking away the 50-50 ball, spinning, running down the sideline. All of that is his incredible gifts. And then the frustration you see in him try to switch the ball, switch hands on the goal line. And obviously the rest is history. We'll get into the holding penalty after that. But I think what is, obviously it's all frustrating, but, this in the Taylor play, it's not like these guys are reaching for the goal line. It's not like they're, 4th and goal, and they're stretching over the pile, on a QB sneak situation, something like that. I mean, it's showboating.
Yep.
I mean, that's what it is, and I don't even know what. I mean, hell, Jonathan Taylor did some dance. I kind of forget it now. Who knows what A.D. Mitchell even would have done there had he gotten into the end zone with an actual touchdown. But this is why he played 15 snaps week 1, why he played, I think it was 7 snaps week 2. You just can't trust him. You can't. And the holding penalty, Mark, I would argue, is maybe more of the reason why you can't play him. And I know hindsight's 20/20, but I thought he should have been benched for a series or 2 after that. I thought Ashton Dulin should have been in the game. Fox obviously had the camera on him a ton. It was clear his headspace was not very clear at all. And you watch the holding penalty, to me, that's just a guy that's not mentally locked in.
Nope.
That corner's just sitting there. The corner's not stressing the wideout out at all.
It was a total unnecessary holding call.
Right. And he just runs by the corner, and then he's like, oh, shit, I forgot about him. Yeah. Let me reach back with two hands and just grab him to the ground. It's poor fundamentals. It's poor technique. It's poor recognition of exactly what is in front of him. And that's why Alec Pierce plays as many snaps as he does. Michael Pittman Jr. plays as many snaps as he does. It's because when Mitchell's on the field, they literally have to throw the football to him, or else they consider him a bit of a liability. And boy, that was a dream start to that drive, too, where he gets the holding penalty. You got Warren down the seam. You got that big penalty on the Rams, the blow to the head on Warren, or the unnecessary roughness on him. You got that defensive pass interference like on a 2nd and 18. You were in such a great position there to potentially win the game. And obviously, all of that unfolds. So pretty obvious, Mark, what my number one is of what I didn't like.
Yeah, they say in the NFL, like, the best availability is the best ability is availability. I would argue that the second best ability is reliability. And they don't have that in A.D. Mitchell. Like you said, you could see that evident when they want him. They want to harness that talent on the deep balls like they did. But then you can see in that 10 seconds later when he lets go of the ball, that's why you're not out there very much. Because you can't rely on him. Because there's either going to be that, or there's going to be the holding penalty, or there's going to be something like last season where he would get the ball wide open and he just wouldn't hold on to it because he didn't make a business decision because there's a defender coming towards him. So it's stuff like that where it just drives you crazy, and we got the full A.D. Mitchell experience yesterday.
And I think that's a really good point you make, Mark. There's multiple branches to this A.D. Mitchell lack of trust. Mm-hmm. Last year, it was not in the right place at the right time, or drops, and now you see the celebration, you see the holding, like those sorts of things that start to add up. And we talked a little bit on the Wednesday podcast. What a huge moment for A.D. Mitchell's future on Sunday. Alec Pierce is not playing. Alec Pierce in a contract year. How much money are you paying Daniel Jones? There's all these financial ramifications of this season potentially. And if A.D. Mitchell ascends, then he could be in more of an Alec Pierce role. And, who knows if Alec Pierce wants to be back here. Mm-hmm. So, all of those things I think are at play here with Mitchell's effort from yesterday. And just a couple other things to add. Okay, now what's the punishment moving forward? Again, I would have probably benched him for a series or two. I think you'd make quite a statement if you had him inactive for Sunday. Obviously, Pierce's availability would play into that. That is something I would definitely explore. I don't think necessarily the Colts will do that, but it is a question that I would have. And then the other one, too, is I go back to college, Mark, with Mitchell. And I know we've talked about this a lot since he was drafted. He started his career at Georgia, then played at Texas. He played in 5 college football playoff games. He scored a touchdown in all 5 of those games. Mm-hmm. That is a wildly impressive stat. On the biggest stages in college football, you're catching a touchdown in the semifinal, final games. Yet, in those games, he only had 7 other catches in 5 games. I mean, that's a little over a catch a game outside of touchdowns. It's like, wait a minute. This dude's talented enough to catch a touchdown in all these games, but he's not consistent enough to have, 3 catches in each of these games. Like, something's not adding up.
Right.
That's why he fell. Part of this is why he fell to where he did in the draft and had 10 wideouts or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's what the number is. That's why he's wearing the number he is.
Right. So
he's got the chip on his shoulder, but he doesn't use that to his advantage.
No, not at all. So yes, obviously, first thing I didn't like, clearly, A.D. Mitchell.
Okay. This would probably be number 2 on a lot of people's, but we're going to talk about it too. Lou Anarumo and his defense.
So to me, Mark, and I know that it's something that we debated a little bit on our morning show, I think you could make the argument that some of the, if you just want to boil it down, what was stupider on Sunday? The Colts having 10 men on the field or A.D. Mitchell dropping the ball at the goal line? It might be the 10 men on the field.
Yeah.
You brought it up. Like, how many eyes are on that?
Yeah. A.D. Mitchell is a personal decision. He's a singular person. The fact that 10 defenders were on the field for that Tutu Atwell go-ahead touchdown,
right?
That is because There are literally hundreds of eyes that didn't see that there's 10 defenders on that field.
So it looked like, and I've gone back and watched a couple times, again, what's so frustrating to me is it's a change of possession. So it's not like a middle of a drive where all of a sudden, sometimes you see that, oh my gosh, we had 10 minutes on the field. This guy cramped up off the field and we couldn't get a guy in there and whatever, or, equipment issue, something like that. No. It's guys jogging on the field after a punt. And I believe Mike Hilton should have been the 11th, either dime for Hilton, or if they would have gone nickel, maybe it would have been a second linebacker with Zaire Franklin out there. And the Colts had 10 on the field. And for me with Anarumo, it kind of starts there. And again, that's an entire defensive staff. I go to the 16-play drive to end the first half. That to me is when the game really started to turn towards the Rams. Now, the third quarter didn't necessarily play out in that, but what a huge moment for the Rams to execute a 13-play, 13-play, 96-yard drive right before half. You do it in 2 minutes and 7 seconds.
Yeah, crazy.
When the Colts had great field position after the Rigoberto Sanchez punt at the 4-yard line there. And then lastly, when I say Anarumo, I just mean the overall plan on Puka Nacua. Because this, to me, was the thought process in getting Lou Anarumo. And Anarumo, I think, has brought a lot of good here. But this is exactly what people were frustrated about with Gus Bradley. The star players show up, and not only do they have a good game against you, they have a career game against you. Puka Nacua has never had more receiving yards in his career than he did on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And to me, I said to you during a break of the show this morning, why can't the star player just have an average game?
Yeah. He's balling out.
Why can't Puka have 8 for 88 and a touchdown? Mm-hmm. Still would be a good game, obviously. Still would be a very nice game. But it would be kind of right in the middle of his career. Instead, he's got whatever he had, 13 for 170 and a touchdown.
And in 2 games against the Colts in his career, he's got 22 catches for 333 yards and 2 touchdowns. He owns the Colts.
And this gets into kind of a bigger topic with Shane Steichen as the head coach and the play caller. Does it just not register to Shane on game day what Puka is doing to your team? And I would think when the Colts PR team hands you that stat sheet at halftime and you see at half, Puka had 7 for 112, I believe was the number, that at that point in the game, you would say to Lou Anarumo, all right, A, we need to change our entire plan on Puka, or B, when 3rd down, 4th down, and red zone rolls around, we need, because Puka's biggest plays were in those moments. I mean, he had some huge 3rd down catches. We need to have a different plan for Puka. And sure enough, Mark, when 4th and 2 rolls around, Matthew Stafford had to come to the line of scrimmage. He was seeing things. Wait, the girl wants to talk to me at the bar? This can't be happening.
Get the wide eyes.
This doesn't happen in my dreams.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he comes to the line of scrimmage, and that's exactly what he sees. 4th and 2, and it's Xavier Howard opposite Puka Nacua with no real safety shade, no real safety help at all. Simple, foot in the ground, slant, easy pickup. Puka does the rest there. So for me, when I say Lou Anarumo, a lot of this we focused on the in-game aspect to planning for Puka. And then lastly, I'll just throw Xavier Howard in general into this conversation because he's here because Anarumo's here. And it has smelled very travel baseball-y of
coach's son.
Mark Dykton's playing our boss's son because he tries, he wants to make sure that Monday through Fridays things are good in the office. That's what it smells like with Howard. And I hear Shane Steichen say after the game, in describing him, he's been a good player in the league. And if I'm the Colts today, I'm replaying that audio for Shane Steichen. He's been.
Yeah, past tense.
He's been. You can't always rely on the back of the baseball card. Frank Reich could not have done it with 46-year-old Adam Vinatieri hurt in 2019. It always was like, Frank, I get it. This is not Adam Vinatieri in 01 and 03 hitting the game-winning field goals. This is a different Adam Vinatieri, unfortunately. We're talking about a 32-year-old corner. That's ancient. A guy didn't play football last year. So the numbers are wild. Coming into yesterday, quarterbacks had 113 passer rating when targeting Xavier Howard.
That is one of the wilder stats you throw out there today because what is the record?
Lamar Jackson has the record for career passer rating. I want to say it's like 102 Peyton Manning's career pass rating was like 96. And this dude, 113. And again, we haven't included yesterday yet. I mean, like, that is just wild to me that that's where it is at so far through these 4 games. So, yeah. It's not good at all right now with Xavier Howard. You have to bench him, period. We'll see where Jalen Jones is at this week. You know, Jonathan Edwards, I know he didn't play much, but made a nice play when he was in there. You know, Mekhi Blackman, opposite him, Hilton in the slot, something. But right now, Xavier Howard is just getting roasted.
They always say, like, oh, they're halftime adjustments. And you have to say, like, what Puka was doing, what Xavier Howard was doing yesterday, like, was there any conversation in the halftime locker room, like, we need to do something different here because what we're doing ain't working? And it doesn't seem like they did that at all. They're just kind of like, all right, boys, grab a Gatorade and we'll get back out there.
Right. And, my question now becomes too, and I know Geno Smith looked like ass, frankly, yesterday.
Yes.
But, like, Mark, with Kyler Murray coming off the schedule, Justin Herbert coming off the schedule, even like Aaron Rodgers, these are at least veteran quarterbacks that are going to be like, they keep on running number 4 out there. Mm-hmm. And it looks like quarterbacks are having a lot of success against them. Should we try that?
You don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. would love to have Xavier Howard lined up across from him in a couple weeks?
It's amazed me that we haven't seen teams try it more. Now, again, it's really the Dolphins and the Titans, which are winless for a reason so far. So I think that's what's really frustrating. It's like the A.D. Mitchell stuff, so much of that, to your point, Mark, is largely out of your control to a degree. I mean, him dropping the ball on the goal line. Whereas some of this defensive stuff is a little bit more of like planning, coaching, identifying talent, personnel, and again, not having the alternate plan for Puka. Like that to me is the bigger picture. Like the A.D. Mitchell thing, yeah, Pierce will probably come back and be healthy, and Mitchell will go back to having his little dozen snap role. But the plan at corner, that's not just changing with the snap of the fingers.
No.
So that to me is a little bit more of a bigger picture worry right now.
All right. Another thing you didn't like, the last one you didn't like, the offense being under duress.
Yeah, I thought in general just the most pressure, and I'll say it in a multitude of ways. Pass rush pressure, and I thought the Rams were pretty effective with 4, which was frustrating. Pressure with contested windows in terms of what Daniel Jones was throwing into, and then they were the most behind the chains they've been all season long. Like, I didn't think Jones was great by any means. I didn't think he was horrific, but I don't know, letter grade, I'd probably give him a low C.
Yeah, I thought it was the first dose of reality of Daniel Jones that we've seen.
First time he's dealt with adversity in a Colts uniform. And credit to him, it's taken 13 quarters until we've gotten that.
Yeah.
I thought he should have led A.D. Mitchell a little bit more on the first interception. I get Mitchell maybe could have been a little bit more competitive in the air. And then I just thought he threw a hero ball pick there late. I mean, minutes ago, 3 timeouts. This is how we grade quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Famer because he's 7 for 8 on the final 2 drives of the game yesterday. Like, that's largely why he is. Yeah. In those moments, he goes from here to here. Daniel Jones, when you get into more of these moments, what are you? That would be my big picture Jones question moving forward. Again, I thought he did a nice job bouncing back after the interception. He hung in there. I'm trying to think of the ball he threw. It might have been to Warren, his first ball right after the pick. I'm like, that's big time kind of resolve, not gun shy, those sorts of things. But the offense had certainly a scoring lull. And at times when you play quarterback, the team looks for you to say, hey, man, we're behind the chains. Can you do something about it? So those are just things to keep an eye on with Jones moving forward. Again, first time he's really had the negatives in there. But yeah, overall, C- day.
I think that's one of the reasons why when they signed him in the offseason, you're like, all right. But it's one of those things where he's a steady hand because he's consistent, but does he have the next gear that he can get into? And we saw that with Matt Stafford yesterday. But does Daniel Jones have that? Can he go from just being steady to going above and beyond? And we didn't see that yesterday.
Yeah. Are you just a guy?
Yeah.
Are you a little better than a guy? Are you a real dude? Those are the things that I feel like you kind of get into with him in terms of a debate exactly on what you have at that position. But again, those are a lot bigger picture questions.
Okay, it wasn't all doom and gloom. What you liked was the post-AD resolve.
Yeah, Mark, I don't know. Maybe some might say this is grasping for positives, but I do think it's real. It unraveled in an avalanche in Denver last year. 13-7 lead became 31-13. It unraveled on all three phases. If you remember, Denver had some big punt returns and kick returns late in that game, or punt return in that game. And yesterday, I didn't think it got anywhere near that. I thought the defense really stood tall in that third quarter. I don't think the Rams scored in that third quarter there. So, again, maybe it's, I don't know, step in the right direction. But when you're on the road and you're facing a quality team, I mean, that could really snowball, and you didn't allow it to snowball. So I definitely wanted to mention that. This is a team that had 11 penalties, which is a really high number. It dropped the ball on the goal line. And, by no means were the Rams, perfect. I mean, they had what? They had to have a good amount of penalties. Yeah, they had 7 for 63. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's still obviously a good amount. They had the 4th and inches that Stafford got stood up on. That's a great challenge by Shane Steichen, not to be afraid of the challenging of spots there. But I think you have to be pleased with how the Colts, showed up in that moment of, all right, fight or flight. That was ugly. How are we going to respond? And for the most part, I thought they handled it well.
Mm-hmm. Are you ready to move to Twitter questions?
Yeah, just the last thing that I did like, I'll just sneak in there. Again, pass rush wise, 3 sacks, 9 hits against Stafford. Those are pretty good numbers. Mm-hmm. And I thought Buckner was certainly the spearheader of it. Tamio Adebare, I think, has shown a little bit more flash here as a rotational defensive tackle. Still want to see more from the edges. I know Latu had a couple moments early in the game. He had the stuff on the QB sneak. And you got to have more from Kwity Paye. You got to have more from him in a contract year, former first rounder. But again, pass rush wise, thought they disguised well. Franklin had the near pick on the 3rd down. And, that might be the best quarterback you face all year. Certainly one of them.
Yeah.
And you still almost came away with the W.
All right, Jake starts us off on Twitter questions. A lot of questions that are being asked today. What do you think the Colts do with AD from here? There's no question the talent's there, but the mental mistakes aren't improving.
Yeah, and just to be clear before you get Twitter questions, Mark, we probably got 5 of the same Mitchell Howard. So, shocking,
right?
Right. So, a lot of different people asked in varying ways. What do you do with Mitchell? I would have benched him for a series or 2. I think it was clear the mental headspace was not there. Mm. Whereas Jonathan, to me, I don't compare him and Taylor the apples to apples. Like Taylor, I was curious, would you sit him down for a couple of plays? But Taylor's mental makeup, I think, is different than AD Mitchell's mental makeup. Now, some might call me out for saying, "Hey, you don't know that." To me, that's pretty clear. So I would have sat Mitchell, I think, for a series or 2. Now, what do you do this week? Inactive? I mean, is that something?
Is that too harsh? You think? Because coaches like to preach. We turn the page. We can take 24 hours after a win or a loss, and then we turn the page. So if you carry that over to the next game, what is that saying for?
Yeah.
That's punishment after the crime committed, and we're supposedly turning the page, but we're not.
I hear you out, but at some point, what about repeatable offenses?
Yeah, I mean
these are repeatable, trustworthy offenses. It cost Anthony Richardson something, clearly. Mm-hmm. So, is that there with Mitchell? And I get him, Mark. I mean, being inactive on a Sunday is a big deal. Yeah. I think you would be sending a pretty direct message there. So it's just a question I would have because, when you say the word accountability, it's such a big buzzword. Okay, where is the accountability with AD Mitchell? In game, I would say we saw none of it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he played, how many snaps did he play? He played 54 of 61 offensive snaps. I mean, Pittman played 57. So that would be my question. Is the repeatable offenses with Mitchell is different than, if that was Doolin or if that was, I don't know, Pierce, somebody else, it's his track record's not really that. Well, AD's track record is different. So,
I mean, you said in your post-game video on Instagram and stuff that if you've seen AD out at training camp, he catches the ball and you think he won the Super Bowl the way he celebrates and everything. So
correct.
It's just one of those things where he just got overexcited again, and it's just dude, come on, man. Just cross the goal line and just do it then. But
yeah, and the changing of hands right then. I mean,
I don't even know if it was the changing of the hand. I think he literally just he fumbled the ball. He was trying to. He's trying to do those things where you drop the ball right at the goal line or something like that.
But it's why are you trying to change hands?
Right.
It's what is there a dance coming here? Mm-hmm. Did we not get to see the dance? So again, what they do with Mitchell this week, and Pierce's concussion history has typically been one week, so obviously that will matter here. And I would like to think you could beat the Oakland or the Las Vegas Raiders with an inactive A.D. Mitchell. But I'm probably not holding my breath that the Colts actually do that.
All right, Walter says, what are your thoughts on Lou and his Frank Reich coach these guys before DBs so far? Howard was getting cooking this Sunday dinner, and Mike Hilton was sliding across the field like my wife's car. She didn't make me check her tires. It's actually telling on yourself a little bit right there, Walter, throwing the wife under the bus.
Yeah, Walter, hope your wife is listening. Which of those do you like better?
I like the wife's car on the tires. Yeah. Ashley needs new tires, too, and she hasn't done them yet.
That's not one that you typically hear.
No.
That's actually a good one, Walter. Yeah, again, it's been super, travel baseball-y, and I go back to the has-been with Shane, the 113 rating, all of it. I would like to see Jalen Jones, when healthy, get the full third corner reps. So right now you got Mooney Ward as an outside corner, you got Kenny Moore. The Colts rarely play base, but when they do, those would be your two outside corners. Obviously, when you get a nickel, you move Kenny inside. Again, we'll see where Kenny's at. Is Kenny going to be out for a couple weeks? So you have some options here. You could, again, leave Kenny outside and have Mike Hilton in the slot if Jalen Jones is not ready. But I think when Jones is ready, I'd move Hilton to the bench. I'd play Kenny. I don't think Hilton was maybe as bad as Walter was referencing there, sliding tires. But that's what I would do. I would have Jalen Jones be that outside corner. And honestly, I'd look at Jonathan Edwards. The thing about it, Mark, is when it goes at, you don't need it to go very often at corner for you to get exposed. Mm-mm. You could just be a hair or two off and you're getting exposed. And, it's not like, if you go back and you watch Howard yesterday, it's not like he's 10 yards behind these dudes. But at corner, if you give separation of 2, 3, 4 yards, that's college open. And you can't have that in the NFL. You watch the Rams and the amount of contested windows they created yesterday. Or in general, Mooney Ward, I thought for the most part had a pretty good day. So it's just too easy right now in targeting Howard.
It eventually goes because, look, Darrelle Revis at some point was Revis Island. No one was getting by him, nothing like that. And then the older got, turned into like a Jet 2 holiday where everybody was, all of a sudden there's a whole cruise line hanging out at Darrelle Revis's island. So when it goes, it goes. Xavier Howard has not been a good addition at all. I remember they made that addition late. Was it late in the camp or was it preseason at that point?
Camp had just ended, so they had 2 more weeks left in the regular season. And again, immediately hand him that starting job.
Yeah.
I don't love, I like a lot of what Lou has done, but I don't love I don't want to say it's like the old, what's a word I'm looking for when you just favor somebody because of their last name?
Oh, nepotism?
Yeah. I don't want to call it that because Xavier Howard has definitely accomplished a lot in his NFL career, but 1 year is like dog years when you don't play in the league, particularly at corner, particularly for that age.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you've seen it here through the first 4 weeks. And it's not like they've done anything with his playing time. He still played a ton yesterday.
Yeah.
I was watching every series after that, Mark. I was like, is he out here? Is he out? Oh, there he is. There's number 4.
Yeah, I remember when they added him, you're like, he's going to get some playing time. Like, he just is.
Right away.
It's been alarmingly bad. And, yeah, I'll be curious to see not only AD's involvement in next week's game against the Raiders, but Xavier Howard going forward. And
that's more of the controllable of okay, again, A.D. Mitchell's stupidity. Yes, it probably cost you yesterday's game, but I cannot largely isolate it to that. Like, this moment with Howard is a 4-week thing. Like, he can't play.
He hasn't shown even glimpses.
That's the bigger, it's amazing it didn't cost you against Tennessee more.
Mm-hmm.
So, nip it in the bud right now. Don't, put the Band-Aid on the old bullet wound. Take care of it and try some other guys.
You say, Howard, we gave the old college try. Appreciate you for trying, but we're going to go in a different direction.
Right. And again, we've seen this with some corners. Dallas Flowers being an example of it. Like, Stephon Gilmore is the exception of the rule. He's
available. You want to do that again?
Flowers is more of the injury. I really would like to see a healthy Jalen Jones.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, Craig chimes in. He says, any concern over their discipline? 11 penalties on Sunday and boneheaded mistakes. Read A.D. Mitchell.
Yeah, this is I every time I think I'm over the A.D. Mitchell play, it just pops back into my head here. As far as penalties are concerned, Mark, I would be willing to guess is one of the higher 4-game stretches under Steichen. And it's really killing them in the red zone. I thought yesterday it got you way behind the chains. I'm going to look that up to see if it is one of the higher ones. Again, I think it probably is under Steichen. And this is one where it's like, okay, it hasn't been a past precedent thing, so I'm not going to put a ton of attention on it. But then it happened again yesterday, and now I'm kind of like, okay, is this something to keep an eye on? And, when you see it, Mark, I'm pretty sure Nelson had a penalty yesterday. Ryman had a penalty yesterday. There were a couple other frontline guys that had some penalties here. So it was a nothing burger to me early in the year. Now it's like a something burger. Don't let it be the big ugly burger from Bub's.
That's well said by you.
Was that good or was
yeah,
that
I like
bad?
that.
What was better, that or Walter and his wife's tires?
The Walter Tire one is going to win the show.
You had an awful dad joke on the radio today. When
you said the 10 men on the field, you said you thought that Hilton was going to be, if it was dime, Hilton would have been out there. And I said, well, if there's 10 men on the field, technically that was their dime package.
And you played the ba-dun-dun.
Yeah.
I mean, that was horrible by you.
I wish I could say I didn't plan that out, but I thought of that and I was like, I'm going to play myself off there.
Unbelievable how you thought that was a good one.
I'll be at Spanky's every white night at 10. Come on down. All right, Wake Spike rounds out Twitter questions. Says, hey guys, was this the game where we realized that Jones is just good enough to run an offense and not to thread the needle in clutch moments?
Quick little look at the penalties. Right now I'm getting 30 as the 4-game high in the Steichen era. Actually, I need to span that out a little bit here. Yeah, it still is 30. So they have 30 in these 4 games too. So it ties a high.
That's what I'm seeing too, yeah.
Ties a high under Steichen.
12th most penalized team in the NFL.
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So not maybe again. Go back to my burger analogy. Okay, Wake Spike. This is about Daniel Jones. Yeah. Again, you eventually have to tier out these quarterbacks. It impacts how much you pay them. And I think listeners of this podcast over the years know this. I strive for elite at quarterback. I don't strive for safe. I don't say, frankly, the Colts have done that. We've seen franchises try it, and you might have a guy for a year, maybe 2, but that's it. You do everything you can as a franchise to find a guy, a dude. And honestly, the Rams being the opponent yesterday is probably a perfect example of it. They had Jared Goff. They got to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff. Mm-hmm. But they said, no. We're going to go out, and we're going to try to get better. We're going to get Matthew Stafford. And you've watched Stafford play now for the last handful of years with the Rams, and I think it speaks for itself. So, I think people will when we get to the end of the season, the Daniel Jones conversation becomes realer. I could see people saying I'm being too critical of Jones, but I just hold that position to such high regard. And you got to have a freaking dude there if you're going to thrive. I sound like Matty Bowen. Let's thrive in our relationship. Let's not survive.
You're laying on the couch right now?
Yeah. Here we are having a nice little one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Dykton and I. Mark, you got to thrive at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You can't survive. I really mean it. I mean, like that's how I view that position when it comes to sports. And I get it. It's tough to find these dudes. But if you find them, you got chances. And, if you're a Rams fan watching that fourth quarter yesterday, you imagine your comfort level knowing you have Matthew Stafford. I mean, Stafford was 7 of 8 on the final 2 drives.
Probably the cause of concern heading into the season was his back, and it didn't look like he had any issues yesterday.
And he was limping at times. He was favoring stuff, and he's getting banged up, and he's still standing there making throws. And the variety of throws he made. And, like, the recognition of the Atwell play. I mean, Atwell was not the first or second read by any means. And when 10 defenders are on the field, it helps. But for you to recognize that, because he had his eyes near Atwell pretty early, to make that play, also stands out. And just the variety of stuff after that. They get into a 3rd and long, they don't panic, and that's what you got to strive for.
I need more of what you need to strive for, Kevin. I need more of those on the next podcast.
Thrive, not survive.
Thrive, survive.
Yes.
All right, any other final thoughts? Because that's it for Twitter questions.
I think just to wrap it up, 3-1 first quarter, you got to be more than pleased.
You would have signed up for that in the preseason.
Signed up for it. And again, I think it's not only the 3 wins you got, but it's also how you've looked. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jones has been really good through 16 quarters. So I think that is encouraging. I get Jacksonville's right there with you. It's Jacksonville really have this staying power? I don't know.
That was a nice win they got yesterday in San Fran.
That was on the road.
Yep.
On the road. So we'll see. Again, the Colts have a great 2-week stretch here. You get 2 West Coast teams on 10 a.m. local start times. Real good chance to get to 5-1 before you go out to the Chargers. And the Chargers, again, we'll see about Joe Alt's status for that one.
I would say you should be getting 3 of the next 4 wins here because the Raiders, Cardinals, then at the Chargers, but then the Titans. The Titans stink to high heaven.
Will Brian Callahan be coaching the Titans in that?
I don't know. I don't know if Cam Ward's going to be starting at quarterback. He's calling them team ass and all that other stuff. They're going to be in line for the number 1 overall pick for a second consecutive year. So we'll see.
Calling the team ass. That is Mark Dykton. Great fill-in as always. Mark, good luck to your Cubs in the postseason.
No, same to your Reds who snuck in. Thanks to the Mets.
Thank you to the Miami Marlins. The gift basket is coming your way. Colts Corner with myself, Kevin Bone. We'll be back on Wednesday.